4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversations, area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. If you're listening in the Blog Talk Radio chat room, just come into the YouTube chat over at youtube.com/liberaldanradio, and you can leave your area code that you're calling in from, as well as the name, as well as your name, so I can make sure to know who it is that is calling in. I currently don't have a call screener, so we want to make sure that I know who I'm answering the phone for. You could also leave comments, questions, concerns, etc. in the chat as well on YouTube, and we will answer those questions as well. If you're listening after the live broadcast, you could always leave your comments, questions, concerns, etc. over on the show thread at liberaldan.com. And you could also over at Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter. And also, I have Facebook.com/LiberalDan as well. However, for some reason, Facebook has been weird. There's been this thing where there's a new page experience. And, hey, Easy E Network, what's going on? Am I coming in really loud on the mic? Because for some reason, it looks like my mic volume is going really, really loud and a little bit louder than normal. So let me know if it looks like if it sounds like I'm really, really loud today. Because for some reason, it looks like I'm going into the red more than I usually do, and I don't know why that is. So I don't know if I am coming in really, really loud or not. Or let me just see if my whatchamacallit, that mic is off, so I'm not double micing it. So anyway. Anyway, Facebook has this new group experience thing, or new page experience that's not very new. For Nerdy Dan, I've had it for a while now. For my Budgeteers page that I hardly ever use, I have had it for a while now. For a whole crap ton of pages, I've had it for a while now. But they never made it available for Liberal Dan, and I was wondering why. And I went ahead and said, well, I should have a Facebook.com/LiberalDan radio page because I only had Facebook.com/LiberalDan. So it makes sense to have a Liberal Dan radio page since I'm Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube. I'm Liberal Dan Radio on TikTok. I'm Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter. So I might as well have Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook before someone else, for some reason, snagged it. So I did, and they gave me the Liberal Dan Radio new experience so I can actually interact on Facebook using the app as Liberal Dan Radio. So I'm going to start slowly merging over as using Facebook.com/LiberalDan Radio instead of Facebook.com/LiberalDan. So I'll have both, but I'll be using Facebook.com/LiberalDan Radio more often than not. And I'm thinking that because I'll be able to use it as a page and use it as if it's a profile, like a regular old Facebook profile, maybe that's the key that I'm missing. Maybe that's the key that will enable me to get the name of the radio show, of the podcast, of the videos out there much more better for horrible English purposes or whatever. And people seem to be late straggling in today. That's fine. So I'm going to just take a little bit more time to just let people trickle in before I start with the show. But we're going to just, BS for a few minutes before I actually start the meat of the program. Hey, Jeff, how's it going on? How's your week? How are things going? Anything new going on? I actually do have bits today. I do have robust headlines today. I do not have a Hypocrite of the Week. I've kind of substituted that this week with more. If you went to the Nerdy Dan stream on Thursday, I kind of bitched about this guy called Joshua Bernstein. He's a very terrible conservative, and I've decided one of my two new things that I might be doing on the podcast is to talk about him and how much of a terrible person he is, because it'll just, maybe by going after him, I'll get some more interactions from his maybe rabid fans or whatever. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Wait, let me give the Aaron horn. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you for coming. Anywho, Um, we got Aaron was there, I think, for that stream, and I captured it's like a 5 minute clip. So instead of doing hypocrite of the week, I got his little clip to show like what I said, how he interrupted me, and his ridiculousness of what he said. And then I called in today also to Jeff's show again to just kind of correct the record, and I'll correct the record on the show again today, and you respond to his ridiculous comments, and I might post that later. I might clip that and put that up on as a separate video as well. Hey Jolie, what's going on? Hey Bill, what's going on? Ooh, what you eating, Bill? You want to get horn too, P Dubs? You can get the Aaron horn as well. Shout out to P Dubs and Jolie. If you want to share the P Dubs GoFundMe, you can go ahead and do so. If you want to support her, please go ahead and support P Dubs. If you want to support my show, you can do a one-time Venmo or a one-time Buy Me a Cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or you can go to patreon.com/liberaldan and support me on a month-to-month basis. Anything is help. But the best thing you can do, share videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, get other people to subscribe as well. I am trying to push through to get that 1,000 sub things. And also I've determined, I think it was August 22nd, so in 2 months will be my Twitch affiliate anniversary. So when I became monetized on Twitch, so that's going to be, I think, a big stream day that I do. Maybe I'll take off of work that day. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll see see about taking a vacation day on work that day. Not be silly and do a sick day, but take a full on vacation day and just do a full day of streaming just to have fun that day, and just, I'll do things like maybe I'll talk politics whilst gaming all day. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Still waiting for maybe a couple more viewers to get in before I start off with the headlines, because I do like to start the show with the headlines, but I don't want to, I want more people to hear it. So, I mean, I will clip the headlines. I'll record them, and so I can upload them after the show anyway. So people will be able to see the headlines if they miss them. However, I do want to. I'm going to give a couple more people give a few more people time to stroll in before I actually get the ball rolling on the show. So as I said, no hypocrite of the week. We do have a Words of Redneck Wisdom this week that we'll play that probably after we talk about the No Labels Party. Again, if you're calling yourself the No Labels Party, that is a label, right? I mean, am I wrong? Isn't calling yourself a No Label Party, isn't that a label in and of itself? Is that in and of itself is already silly? But there's so many issues that I'm taking with them, and like I'm already tempted to just do like, hey, this is my fat man rant. Like this whole show almost could have been a fat man rant, simply because of the fact that I have so much stuff to rant about when it comes to this silly party or whatever it is they're calling themselves, because they're not necessarily a party per se. Like, I think like if they support a candidate or a consensus ticket or whatever they want to call themselves, they're not running under the No Labels Party. They're going to run under something else. They're just going to help. It's silly. I don't know. We're going to go over their website. We're going to go over what they've said, what their FAQs are, who they potentially are talking about, what their president and vice presidential candidates might look like, and why that's silly. When they might run, when they might not run, when they might support a candidate, when they might not support a candidate, and why that's silly. Why third-party candidates are silly just altogether. So, whole bunch of stuff. Hey, MJ Daniel, what's going on as well? Give P-Dubs a chance to get to PC, and then once I think that happens, we will then give a full-on start to the show by starting with the headlines. Trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about. I think we covered the fact that not only on Facebook do I have facebook.com/liberaldan, I've had facebook.com/liberaldanradio for a while. However, I hadn't been using it. Again, I think by I have the new page experience on the Liberal Dan Radio Facebook page, and I can use it as a profile. I think that could maybe be the key of getting more engagement with everything. I'm probably wrong. I've been wrong about so many things on how I can get engagement on my channel. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't quite figured all this stuff out. I mean, I've been on Twitter for forever, and I don't have a whole lot of followers comparatively compared to other people. I've been on YouTube for a while. I only have 600 people following. Again, I don't know. Again, I mean, maybe just because I do my work full time, and as I'm not focusing on that. I don't know, but we'll see. Throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks, I guess. Let's see. Jeff Curry. Saturday, I saw a guy tie a get well soon balloon to a dead animal on the side of the road. What animal? What animal was it? Was it like was it a particular kind of animal? Like, I don't know if that matters, but like, was it like a possum or an armadillo? Tried juggling. Somehow got Steve Martin on TV. Thought he was a writer then too. I don't know. I'm not a very good juggler. I don't know. Start off with one, maybe just do one ball at a time, then go to two. I don't know. I was talking to somebody, and they're like, I just need to start posting silly pet videos, like when my pets do something silly, like get my cat bullying my dog, get my little 5-pound cat bullying my 55-pound dog, and then, hey Megan, how's it going? And I said, what about take me to Tiffany's? Anyway, so yeah, it's hilarious when they do it. But I mean, my dog is so funny. She's such a big pup and just wants to love on this little ball of fur, and this little ball of fur just does not want anything to do with her. Like the other day, she just came over to me and just the little one just wanted to love on me a little bit, and I was like, oh, thank you. It was on Father's Day, which was nice. I got little kitty love on Father's Day. And then she decided, okay, I'm done. And I'm like, okay, good. And my dog was just laying on the couch, minding her own business. And the cat jumped off the chair I was on over to the couch. And she goes over and she hisses at the dog and swats at her. And the dog's like, what did I do? And she just walks over to the center of the couch, just lays down over there and kind of looks at her like, you're mean. The poor little puppy. So, anywho, I think it's time. Let's show it. We'll go ahead and start now. And start off with, we're going to go ahead and start with this week's headlines. Hunter Biden pled guilty on several counts of failure to pay taxes and received probation for it, and took a pretrial diversion on a charge of owning a gun while using illegal drug charge. This, of course, will have conservatives crying because they wanted blood. But the federal prosecutor who brought the case and accepted the plea was one of two holdovers from the Trump administration. An oddity because typically a president will replace all federal prosecutors. My nitpick is that the media has said that Hunter Biden pleaded guilty. And I know that the AP Style Guide says that pleaded is the preferred way to say it. Liberal Dan Radio Style Guide says pleaded sounds stupid. Pled sounds much better. Hashtag Team Pled. The House of Representatives has voted to censor Congressman Schiff by a slim margin. A Congress with George Santos, a person who doesn't want to disclose who his bailbackers are and won't censure him, voted to censor Schiff on a purely partisan vote. Good job, GOP. In other GOP news, in a heated discussion on the House floor, MTG allegedly called Bobo the Clown a little bitch because she copied her articles of impeachment when Bobo filed her privileged motion to impeach President Biden. The fallout of the crumbling of white trash Camelot is wider than we thought. The city of Hamtramck, Michigan, voted unanimously to ban the display of any pride flag on any city-owned property. The council is entirely Muslim, and it seems odd that a council full of people who would be oppressed by many in this country would take a vote to oppress others. Oppressed people need to stand together. I also find it a little ironic that a city called Hamtramck would be ran by Muslims. Is it pork haram? In non-political news, Grammy-nominated singer B'nai Rexha probably got that wrong, is back on tour after being injured after a fan threw a phone at her on stage and hit her in the eye. Whatever happened to simply throwing your underwear to singers on stage? The search is still on for the tin can submarine by the Titanic wreckage containing 2 billionaires. What do you call 2 billionaires at the bottom of the sea? A good start. The saga of the people lost by the Titanic has caused others to wonder who else they can get to go take an underwater tour. Some have suggested landlords. Under the sea, bring all the lessers down where the pressure's too much for me. Up on the land they leach the poor, so bring them to the ocean floor. Life will be better when they are wetter under the sea. In other news, orcas have been caught on camera randomly attacking yachts. Seems like it might have been a orchestrated attack. They seem to be having a whale of a good time. How do they decide which boats to go after? They flip a coin. The boat owners may be mad, but these creatures seem to have a license to krill. But maybe the orcas are worried about the humans trying to impose a Orwellian type of government. And that was this week's headlines. There you have it. So, put a little bit more extra work in this week's headlines this week, creating some terrible puns. Of course, I did steal the orchestrating one from a meme that I saw. However, P-dubs, they threw a cell phone. Somebody threw a cell phone at the singer. There's a trend that's going on where they will take a cell phone and want the star to take a selfie with the cell phone and then give the cell phone back to the singer or to the individual, so the person can have the singer's selfie on their phone. So yeah, let's see. I saw Dokken in concert and our Broth threw on stage. He stopped the show and said, "I want to see the boobs that go with this." Whatever happened with the good old days threw beer bottles on stage. A phone, please. Demonox, I'm not sure if it's my phone or your connection, but your audio sounds like you're under the sea. Now, see, yesterday, Aaron also said that I sounded a little boxy. So I don't know what's going on. I don't. It's weird. I don't know if I didn't change anything audio related with my audio. Yeah, I think she needed stitches in her eye, and she had a black eye. I think like her left eye had a black eye. I think when she went on stage like last night, I think she did her makeup so that she looked like she just had makeup on both eyes to match. So and then she made a joke like hey, just no more cell phones. Don't throw any more cell phones on stage, please. I don't want another black eye or whatever. But yeah, let's see. So it could very well be mine. I do sound a little canned. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Nothing has changed with my setup, so I don't really know what the deal is. Who is on? If you're calling in and you haven't left your name in the YouTube chat, put your name in the YouTube chat. Wait, is that? I think that's my friend. I think I know who that is. Hey, what's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, who's this? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
I'm put your name in chat or whatever. I couldn't really quite hear you. All call dropped. That didn't. I don't know what that was, but that seemed weird. I don't know. It seemed like it might have been a problem waiting to happen. So I don't know. It wasn't. I thought it might have been Khalil, but it was not Khalil. It didn't sound like Khalil. So let's see. Van Hagar was the best Van Halen, in my opinion. I mean, I could agree in principle, maybe in principle I can agree on that. in that perhaps the quality of the overall songs for Van Hagar was better, but I think the Van Halen songs with David Lee Roth were more fun. Hey, Bill, what's going on? Anywho, so we're going to do not the words of redneck wisdom, but the discussion of what's going on with, we're going to do the words of redneck wisdom, and we're going to do the other thing probably after the 9 o'clock, after we hit 9 o'clock. But first, let's get into, hey, Cynthia, what's going on? We're going to get into first the No Labels party. 2024, or nolabels.org is the website. So they go to the About Us. This moment demands American leaders and citizens alike declare their freedom from the anger and divisiveness that are ruining politics, and most importantly, our country. A united front. Where are you welcome? Feeling politically homeless, tired of the extremes on the left and the right, looking for common sense solutions of American problems, tweaking truth to partisanship, fighting the extremes since 2009? I have not heard of them since 2009. I mean, where have these people been? I mean, this is 2023. Where have they been for the last, 14 years? I've not heard. How we're different. They're intellectually open. They're about solutions. We're spry and indefatigable. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I like to think that I'm an intelligent dude, but let's learn a word today. Yeah. I don't even know how to pronounce the damn word. Indefatigable. I am having problems today with words. Persisting tirelessly. All right, sure. They persist tirelessly. I've not heard of them since they've started, whatever. They created the House Problem Solvers Caucus, creating an insurance plan that would allow a unity ticket to run for president if the two major parties select candidates the vast majority of Americans don't want to vote for in 2024. Okay, so since 2029, when the Tea Party arrived, No Labels has been focused exclusively on reversing that vicious cycle. We aren't a third party, but we are creating a powerful force capable of countering the influence of the extremes on both sides. From the start, we've known that this isn't the sort of challenge that lends itself to simple solutions. Reorientating our politics and reclaiming our bipartisan tradition requires sustained effort on a number of different fronts, and while our mission is far from complete, we've by now developed a track record of success. What success? What's your track record? No Labels created the House Problems Solvers Caucus. So the group responsible in a large part for rescuing the thought-to-be-dead COVID relief package. So who's part of the House Problem Solvers Caucus? Was it 13 people, maybe? Let's just, hold on. Members. Who's the members of the House Problem Solvers Caucus? Josh Gottheimer, Tom Reed, Democratic Republican co-chair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's a decent amount of people in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 6, 7, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 54 in the 117th Congress, 54 of 450, so just over 10% of the Congress. So, meh. It's a very small minority of Congress. So it's 28 Democrats and 28 Republicans. So, and that was in 2021. So I don't know how many of those still remain in Congress. But in 2021, they had 56 people. Woohoo. Let's see. Sounds like a steaming pile to me. You lose me at whole both sides BS. Both sides are not the problem, just the GB. Exactly. Well, we're going to get to that. We're definitely going to get to that. Bicycle Mike. I'm Bicycle Mike 42. I'm back. I'm nationwide. If it was bad yesterday too, then it must have been from the same source. Obviously, YouTube service are overheating. They just can't handle Aaron's hotness. That is obviously true. No, who can though? That's the question. Who can handle that? Hey, Asia, what's going on? If anybody who missed the headlines, I kind of stumbled over a couple, but I will definitely post the headlines. I clipped it, so it'll be uploaded shortly after the show, hopefully. So let's see how we're different. Read more. They're intellectually open. We want to hear people's ideas. People who feel iced out from the loudest and angriest voices of the Democratic and Republican parties. Finally, again, we're spry and indefatigable, whatever. We may not have the institutional grounding that keeps the parties plodding along, but we're deeply connected to a growing swath of Americans who don't fit comfortably under either narrow tent. I mean, the Democratic Party is not a narrow tent. There's a crap ton of people under the tent. Our beliefs. We care about the country more than the demands of any political party. Political leaders need to listen more than the majority of Americans, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Donate to no labels. I mean, they're backed by freaking like millionaires and billionaires. So, I mean, how much do you need? Let's see. Question. Would no labels nominate an independent unity presidential ticket in 2024 if the Democratic nominee is Joe Biden and the Republican nominee is former President Trump? Answer. It's too early to know. We will nominate an independent unity presidential ticket only if the public clearly wants an alternative to the major party nominees and there's a viable path to the Electoral College victory for a unity ticket in 2024. So the answer to the question is no. There's no viable path for a third party ticket in 2024, 2028, 2032, 2036, 2040, 2044, etc. There has not been a viable path for any third-party ticket in a very long time. Why? Because third-party tickets don't run smart. Third-party tickets run stupid. Third-party tickets can't win without bottom-up support. If you're running as a presidential candidate, you need people running for the House and the Senate underneath you. Maybe not necessarily the Senate, but definitely the House. But the problem is you need people in the Senate to help you pass your legislation. You need to have people who are going to be helping you get the vote out. Ross Perot, a billionaire, couldn't win one electoral college seat, one electoral college vote. What do you get? Like 30% of the vote? 20-something% of the vote? Maybe I'm off on the numbers a little bit, but he got a big chunk of the vote, a bigger chunk than any third-party candidate got in any recent history. Especially since, and for a while beforehand, but did not get one electoral college vote. Why? Because he didn't have anybody really running a serious campaign for Congress underneath him. Maybe he had some Reform Party candidates running, but there wasn't anybody running any serious campaigns underneath him. And you can't win like that. I voted for the Green Party candidate once when I had a horrible Republican candidate running for Congress, and the Democratic candidate running for the Congress in my district was a pretty much somebody who was going to go to jail soon, going to go to prison soon, and we knew that he was a crook, and I was not voting for the crook, so I voted for the Green Party candidate. And I guess there was a Green Party candidate running, but there was no serious campaign. I just couldn't vote for the criminal. I'll take that back. I did vote for a convicted felon, but the convicted felon that I voted for was somebody who was a repentant convicted felon and somebody who, after getting out of jail, after getting out of prison, worked doing work after prison to help people who were also felons to reacclimate themselves back into society so they wouldn't have recidivism, so they wouldn't repeat their crimes and would return to society and become productive members of society. So he worked to not only better himself as a citizen, and not duplicate his issues, he worked to help others not duplicate their issues and work to make his community a better place. So I have no problem voting for convicted felons, especially because the system is stacked against poor people who are convicted felons. I have a problem working for people who are politicians who then become felons who think that they're better than anybody else. That was my problem. Anywho, let's see. Cynthia from Texas. I know I'll never vote third party again. Too busy voting defensively. Yeah, and for the most part, I absolutely agree with you. And I probably and the people that voted for that individual probably did help the Republican get in, because it was like the one election in Louisiana that was not an open primary, and so Joseph Gow won. But it didn't matter because the Democrats had the House anyway. At that time. Let's see. Would no labels use its ballot line in the states to nominate candidates for any offices other than the presidency of the United States? We currently have no plans to offer our ballot line to candidates for any office other than the presidency. This is the problem. So not only are they just looking at presidency, they're flat out saying we don't have any plans to run anybody for Congress. We're just creating an independent unity presidential ticket, if that's what the American people want and need. But they're not going to elect a president if they're not running people down ticket. It's so flippin' stupid. Like, it's just a distraction. Like, that's all it is. It's a distraction. It's a bunch of people and a bunch of rich frickin' people who have nothing better to do than to contemplate their navels and wonder what, thinking that, let's think of ways that we can make ourselves more important than we really are, and we're going to try and do something that we find interesting that's probably not going to account to either. It's either going to amount to nothing, or it's going to amount to helping Donald Trump win the presidency again. What criteria will the No Labels Nominating Committee use to determine whether to nominate a ticket? The No Labels will nominate a unity presidential ticket in 2024 under the following conditions. Neither the Democratic nor Republican presidential nominees embrace or embody the values and commitments expressed in the No Labels mission statement. Evidence of this commitment should include public affirmative statements, including confirmation that the ticket would adopt key elements of the No Labels common sense policy agenda to be released in summer of 2023. The majority of American people want an alternative to the major party presidential nominees, as evidenced by rigorously analyzed polling data, and there is a viable path to an electoral college victory for a No Labels unity ticket consisting of a president and a vice president not of the same party, unless both are independents, as evidenced by rigorously analyzed polling data. They're gonna, and it's an and, so it's and. So all three have to be true. Three will never be true. So this will never. So in reality, the No Labels party, or whatever it is they want to call themselves, because in some place they say that they're not a party, but in some places they say that they are a party. This is just grifting. They're basically just asking for money. They want you to donate to their cause so they can do whatever it is they want to do. I'm sure they're going to pay for funding, and I'm wondering where their funding is going to go. Is their funding, like, who are they sending money to? What media reason? Like, how are they funneling their money? Like, it's probably just a way to, like, funnel money places to the people that they support. At the end of the day, my prediction here, let's record this. My bold prediction on Liberal Day and Radio is that with the requirements that No Labels have set forth on when they will, if they will put up a unity presidential ticket, is that they will never meet the third condition. They will never find themselves a viable path to electoral college victory based on polling, and as such, they will never put forward a unity ticket, and as such, No Labels is just there to raise funds and be grifters to send money to other people for other reasons. There you go. That's my prediction. Bunch of frickin' grifters. See, a lot has to do with the fact the two corrupt parties that we have essentially made it so that without billions of dollars backing you from the big foundations, you don't stand a chance. And that is a big problem. I agree with you. Let's see. We need a viable third-party ticket, but the method of trying to get enough people to vote for a third-party president to force it would never work. We need to get more third-party people in lower stations all the way up. I have said that many times. You must listen to Liberal Dane Radio a lot, Demonox. It's probably why you're the first Liberal Dane Radio patron, because I've said that a lot. You need to start from the bottom up. A third party probably needs to focus on a state or several states. Start at like city councils. Work your way in city councils. Work your way up. Work your way to the state legislatures. Work your way to whatever. And you'll probably, when you're doing so, you'll probably want to caucus with a party. Like if you're a left-wing group, you probably want to say, okay, well, we're going to be like, the Democratic Socialists or whatever. We're going to be a Green Party, but while we're building this party, we're also going to say, okay, we're going to ally ourselves with these people, but we're also going to, on these issues, but we're also going to try and build ourselves up to the point where, like in Vermont, Bernie Sanders, being a Democratic Socialist, and even though he ran for president of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders was an independent, and he basically got the Democratic Party to say, look, Democrat, you want to run for Senate, don't do it because we don't want the Republican to get there. We want Bernie to get there, so we're going to ask you to not run against Bernie Sanders because we want not the Republican to win, so Bernie Sanders is going to win. So that's how, in Vermont, Bernie Sanders was able to get up there. Because here's the other weird thing. Question is, No Labels running a presidential campaign? No. No Labels is not and never will be running or funding a presidential campaign. We are only obtaining ballot access in states across the country to lay the necessary groundwork, which is necessary because the major political parties have put up such high barriers to competition. In short, No Labels is working to build the launching pad of an independent unity presidential ticket. If we ultimately nominate a ticket, it will be up to their campaign team to build the rocket to take them to the White House. So again, they're not a party, but they're going to nominate a ticket. That's why I'm confused here. That's where it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense at all. Whatsoever. So where's the other thing that they were talking for? About Us. Did I already look at the About Us? I wanted to see what the other thing that they wanted to, what they were talking about in the FAQ. Oh, that's right. Is it not quite summer, or is it already summer? Technically, is it not summer yet? In summer 2023, the No Labels Common Sense Policy Agenda will set to be released in summer 2023. So I don't think the No Labels Common Sense Policy Agenda has been set yet. Let's do a Google search for that just to make sure that it's true. No Labels awards its Problem Solver seal to candidate Adam Frisch. Adam Frisch made 3 public commitments. He will support country first common sense policy. No Labels will ultimately award our seal to equal number of Democrats and Republicans. All right, so that doesn't give me an answer as to what that seal actually, or what that policy is. So I guess we'll have to circle back to what this thing is. Solstice at 7:57 p.m. So yeah, as I said, not quite yet summer yet. Yeah, so No Labels is trying to split and divide Democrats. Even there are Democrats who are part of this thing. But here's one of the other things that the No Labels party is saying. According to The Hill, political organization No Labels committed to end its third-party push if polling shows President Biden way ahead of former President Trump next spring. No Labels, a bipartisan group, has been pursuing an effort to launch a, quote, unity ticket in the 2024 presidential election that would include a Republican and Democrat if the two parties select unreasonably divisive presidential nominees. Trump and Biden are currently leading the polls among candidates in their respective parties. Democrats are worried that a third-party recruitment push amid concerns that they could take votes away from Biden. Ben Chavis, the Democratic co-chair of No Labels, told NBC News that the group is not and will not be a spoiler in favor of Donald Trump. He also said the group would be prepared to stand down by spring, saying it will make a decision after Super Tuesday and before its convention in April. If we find that the polls are changed and Joe Biden is way, way out ahead, and the person who Republicans may choose, if they choose to choose Donald Trump, even though he's been indicted, then No Labels will stand down. No Labels have confirmed to The Hill that it will end its third-party push if Biden is ahead in the polls next spring. See, that doesn't make any freaking sense whatsoever. The idea of if Biden is way ahead in the polls, then the threat of a third party is less. If the polls are close, then that makes it more likely that the third party, independent, consensus, whatever you want to call it, ticket is to be a spoiler. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's bizarre. I don't understand why they think this makes any sense at all. It doesn't. It's stupid. Like, absolutely 100% frickin' bizarre. No Labels claims that as a third-party bid for a White House is viable as it continues its effort to get on the ballot across the country. It has already secured a spot in Arizona, Alaska, Colorado, and Oregon. 4 states. It is not viable if you only have 4 states. You can't win with 4 states. It's not going to happen. I mean, I guess technically you can. If you win 4 states, but see, if you can win with 4 states, but you need the House of Representatives. You need enough states worth of congressmen and House of Representatives to do it. Because I was thinking that, if DeSantis were to get the primary, and for somehow were to pull ahead and win the primary, like Trump could have enough support in House seats and could win the presidency if nobody got the majority of the Electoral College votes, if Trump had enough support in House seats. So you don't have to get a majority you don't have to get a plurality of Electoral College votes to win, as long as nobody gets a majority. So as long as you win at least one Electoral College vote, you can still become president, as long as you're in the top 3. But if you don't get any Electoral College votes, you can't. It's not possible. Because the House can only pick amongst the people who have Electoral College votes. Real Bill P. Judge ruled that Santos has to reveal the names of the guarantors. Either he reveals the names tomorrow and go back to jail, which is hilarious. I so want to see the names of those people. Elizabeth, of course I know they're lying. Of course they're lying. But this is all about exposing the No Labels people. Democracy is about equal ballot access and transparency. To hear that a group of my friends and leaders in the Democratic Party were recently convened at the Third Way office in Washington, D.C. to express first of coordinating efforts to prevent no labels from getting ballot access is disturbing, Chavis said. Denying ballot access is another form of voter suppression. We are clear and transparent about not doing anything to help our nation step backwards with Trump, he added. So Chavis doesn't want to help Trump get elected. But Chavis is saying that the only way that they're going to jump on the ballot is if Biden and Trump are close, which is stupid. Somebody needs to give a proverbial, like if I was on Facebook, if I said an actual smack on the head, like Facebook would be like, oh no, violence. But no, somebody needs to give a verbal smackdown to Chavis and explain to him, like, I don't think that anybody should be blocked from the ballot. I don't support that. But holy crap, they're so stupid. But here's the even bigger stupid part. Here's the even more stupid part of this whole entire thing. Who has been discussed as being potential candidates on this unity bipartisan ticket? Larry Hogan, the former Republican governor of Maryland, is discussed as one of the potential people who could be on this unity ticket. And I could understand that. A Republican who came from a blue state, a Republican governor from a blue state. Okay. Larry Hogan is somebody who I could see, if you're trying to build a unity ticket, somebody who is a more centrist Republican, sure. I could see Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan voted or signed something to expand medical marijuana. Looking at the thing here. He required considering climate change and regulation of utilities, supported clean energies, green jobs, wanted to combat greenhouse gas emissions, wanted to grow green jobs, Clean Cars Act, invest in electric cars and charging stations, coastal base program on the environment, got a B- and got a positive trend, wanted to reduce nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment in the Chesapeake Bay, although he did roll back the rain tax that reduced Chesapeake Bay pollution, which is not that great. Supported flexible 60 days of paid parental leave after birth of a child. Required paid leave, but only for large businesses, but at least he required large businesses to give paid leave. Let's see. He supported nonpartisan redistricting reform to end gerrymandering. Of course, though, as a Republican in Maryland, Maryland is horrible when it comes to gerrymandering from the Democratic side, so I can see why a Republican would want to end gerrymandering in Maryland, so I can't necessarily give him credit on that. He supported a ban to bump stocks and other rapid trigger devices. He supported increasing the age of unsupervised access in guns from 16 to 18. He supported tougher sentences on people committing gun crimes. He wanted instant background checks tied to the federal system. Let's see. He rejected Trump's policy of family separation at the border. What else? He is personally pro-life, but he respected the law on same-sex marriage. He did not support repealing the same-sex marriage law. While he opposes the transgender rights bill, which, I mean, he's Republican, so no one expects him to be perfect. I mean, it'd be nice if he was, but he signed an expansive birth control insurance bill. In the 80s, he supported banning abortions, but in the 90s, he did not support overturning pro-choice laws. In 2014, he still remained personally opposed to abortion, but felt that it was legally settled. So much more centrist than your typical Republican. Somebody who, if you were building a consensus, independent, third party, centrist ticket, then perhaps, sure, I could see him being placed on such a ticket. Fine. I have no problem with that argument on that. If they would say, we're building this consensus ticket, Larry Hogan is the guy who's going to be our vice presidential nominee. Okay. It's not a ridiculous proposition. So who's the other dude? Joe Manchin is their centrist Democrat. What? I mean, I'm going to say what so many times that Samuel L. Jackson is going to shoot me. What? I feel like I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin from like 20 years ago. What? Like, I don't understand why Joe Manchin is a Democrat at all. There's nothing on Joe Manchin's like Wikipedia page that at all makes me believe that he has any reason to be a Democrat. If the No Labels Party wants a centrist Democrat to be a president, Joe Biden is the centrist Democrat. Joe Manchin is a Republican in a Democrat label. Like, there are plenty of people on the left who held their nose and voted for Joe Biden. We have at least one in the chat. Because they knew it was important to not let Trump win. But Joe Biden is not this leftist extremist that the No Labels Party is worried about. Joe Biden is a centrist, somebody who wants to build coalitions with people on both sides of the aisle. Like, if you were to put forward the ideal candidate that the No Labels Party would want to have, like the poster child for somebody who desires consensus building, for somebody who wants to reach across the aisle, for somebody whose ideal it was, who ran on a platform of, I want to reach my hand across the aisle and shake the hand of every Republican and work with them to make America a better country where we used to work together, where we used to have lunch together and sit down and talk. Like, overly idealistic. Like, the part of his campaign that made me just kind of be like, make my eyes roll, because I felt that he was being overly idealistic and thinking back of a time when he used to be in the Senate that no longer existed. It's Joe Biden. Joe Biden would be their guy. And he's the current president. This is the guy that they would want in the office. I don't understand why they would want anybody else but Joe Biden. He would be their perfect guy. But because he has a D behind his name, and because there are Democrats that are to the left of him, that somehow that makes him somebody that people that they don't want to support, that they think that people don't want to support. It's not the problem of Biden. It's the problem of Trump and the MAGA folks and the ridiculousness of the partisanship that comes from the right. And the ridiculousness of like the people like the Elon Musks of the world who are just so fragile and who believe that cis is a slur and who fall for all of these ridiculous right-winged, fragile, oh my God, my world is ending because we're stopping to do all these things that we traditionally did. Like, Biden's their guy. It's just, Manchin is to the right of Larry Hogan. If there's, hey Kimchi, what's going on? Like, I don't like Manchin. Like, I just don't see. Oh, I have a spam call on my phone. Let's hang up on that one. Like, if you want a consensus ticket and Larry Hogan's your Republican, Manchin's not the one. He's to the right of him. Right, I'm using my left hand, but I guess that's to your right, so I guess I'm doing it right. Demonox, Biden wants to make deals with the devil. That's my problem. He wanted to reach across the 70s Republicans. Maybe you don't compromise with people who want to commit genocide. There's another spam. I'm not answering your spam, especially during my podcast. You could leave a message. Anyway. And in practice, I agree with you, Demonox. The problem is you don't want to make deals. You don't want to make deals. You don't want to make deals with the devil, especially you don't want to let the devil get their way. And that's the ultimate problem with making deals with the devil. Reported, I don't know why they keep calling me. I'm hanging up on them, you dumbasses. Anywho, I'd like to see AOC president in my daughter's life. I mean, I would love. I want Congress to move left. I want the president to move left. And here's the thing about Joe Biden is, I think Joe Biden is a centrist, and I think Joe Biden is like kind of like in the middle-ish of the Democratic Party as well. I think as the Democratic Party moves left, I think Joe Biden also moves left a bit, but he's still a centrist. The thing I laugh about the most is when the Republicans start talking, like on talk radio and Fox News, whatever, when they call Joe Biden a Marxist or a socialist. I almost choke. I have to make sure that I don't drink anything when I'm listening to Republican and conservative talk radio. Is when they call Biden a socialist. I'm like, yeah, no. There's no way that Biden is a socialist. I know plenty of people who would love it if Biden was a socialist. He ain't no socialist. Not one bit. Ken QB, nope. No labels is using that as an excuse to say that Biden is too old. Well, Manchin is. How old is Joe Manchin? How old is Joe Manchin? So, I mean, Joe Manchin's 75 years old. It's not like he's a spring chicken. So, I mean, if they're going to put Joe Manchin up, he's old too. So, it's not like he's a spring chicken. Joe would be a dino if not for LGBTQ+. I mean, Joe did bring Obama with him along on gay marriage. Biden is in the Goldilocks zone. I think Biden is also on the left. I think on Demonox might disagree with this some. I mean, Biden could be better on labor rights, but Biden is better on labor rights than Republicans. I don't like what Biden did on the railroad thing. I'll be clear. Biden is not perfect on labor rights. Biden did not do the right thing when it came to the railroads. I'll 100% posit that. And that was wrong. 100% disagree with his decision on that. But Biden is on the left on abortion too. Although Biden, not many people are left enough for me on abortion because I'm 100% pro-abortion, no exceptions. No, it's between the patient and their doctor, and because the only reason anybody goes to get an abortion after 21 weeks is if there's a health issue. Nobody is choosing to get an abortion after 21 weeks. Maybe if somebody finds out what's the word I'm looking for? There's some word that conservatives love to bring up when they start talking abortions on TikTok. It's the people who don't know that they're pregnant and find out that they're pregnant very late in their pregnancies. But let's see. No one over the age of 60 should be allowed to drive a Maserati. P-Dubs, Beto should really be the governor of Texas right now. Absolutely. Biden is a Catholic, so of course he's not 100% pro-abortion. Well, sure. I guess I was raised Jewish, so Jewish people mostly tend to be pro-choice because under Jewish law, the embryo is, quote, mere water, and Jewish tradition also considers the fetus to not be considered a full life like, Catholicism does. Cynthia VP Harris spoke to a little girl and me this week. The camera angle is perfect. It made me cry. I missed some of that. Let's scroll back a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. Anti-vax Kennedy is just a Republican shill. Exactly, Demonox. Especially with that one picture where he's with, like, was it Stone and some other people? And it looks like Roger Stone is like winding up his back windy thing, for lack of a better word, for not being able to think of his windy thing word. What's up, Suzanne? Welcome. Thank you for joining. 24 viewers, 23 likes. Make sure to like if you haven't done so. I don't know if that last viewer like is me or not. It's not nerdy. It's not the Nerdy Dan one, but I don't know if I have to like it or not. I don't know. Gonna watch Rude Pundit on Jeopardy. Cool. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good one. There are many different reasons for having an abortion there, as there are for people choosing one. Agreed. Again, it's none of my business if somebody is pregnant. It's none of my business as to why you choose to get one. None of my business. None of the government's business. Handle your business. Do what you need to do. And I'm not going to judge you for it. Simple as that. Let's see. So pretty much that's pretty much it for my rant on the No Labels Party. I mean, they're just a bunch of grifters who want to raise funds and spend money. Like, I would like to, I guess the next thing I'd have to do is I want to look at, like, I'm guessing there's probably a PAC. I'm sure they're a PAC. Let's see. Terms of service. I love the terms of service on websites, like if they have a linking policy or whatever, when they like say you can't link to us or whatever. Oh, they don't have a linking policy, or they might, but it's not specifically stated as a linking policy. I always found linking policies to be stupid. Let's see. No Labels PAC. No Labels American Political Organization supports centrism and bipartisanship, blah, blah, blah. It's a 501c4, so it's not a PAC. Interesting. So there's Chicago Sun-Times investigation first linked 5 super PACs to No Labels: United for Progress, Citizens for a Strong America, United Together, Governor Go Home, and Forward Not Back. Open Secrets built on network later. Linked to additional super PACs, No Labels, Patriotic Americans PAC, Progress Tomorrow Inc. According to FCC's website, all 70 of the super PACs were closed in 2020. According to the Daily Beast, in the 2018 cycle, No Labels super PAC received more than $11 million from 53 donors, most of whom come from the financial industry. New Republic reported in 2023 that No Labels have received major funding, along with nearly 24 new donors from Harlan Crow, and leading donor to Republican and conservative causes. Critics of the organization have suggested that No Labels in practice works to advance financial interests of the wealthy. This has been echoed in critiques that the group caters to special interests that drive partisanship instead of promoting bipartisanship, with Frank Rich opining what America needs is not another political organization with a toothless agenda and less than transparent finances. There you go. So this is probably just, let's see, in 501c4. The The most common type of dark money group is the 501c4, often called social welfare organizations. Such organizations can receive unlimited donations from corporations, individuals, and unions. So they are a dark money organization. Proponents of dark money maintain it's protected under the First Amendment, while critics complain recipients of dark money, such as with any contribution, knows exactly who owes the favor, but voters are kept in the dark about connections between donors and politicians when favors are paid back. So there you go. This is all about dark money and money being paid and handled around whatever. So there you go. This is a dark money organization meant to claiming to want one thing, but in reality they want a whole in reality, it's my belief at least that they want a completely different other thing. And as Eazy says, dark money like Citizens United should be illegal. Absolutely agree with you 100%. It is stupid. There's no reason. Money and speech should not be the same thing. The ability for you to spend a whole crap ton of money should not be the same thing as the ability to have, your say. Your say should be the ability to speak. It should not be the ability to fund limitlessly. If they ban abortion, then ban Viagra and Cialis now. At least they should at least ban if in states that abortion is banned, they should. Well, that would suck for the people who. They should be able to tie you to your vote. If you vote to ban abortion, you should then also not be able to use. You should then not be able to then use sexual health products. Like you should be able. You should own your vote. Like you should be able to say, okay, if you vote to ban abortion, you should then also be restricted from being able to go travel across state lines and getting one too. Like, don't vote to ban abortion and then go get pregnant and then say, oh, well, I'm going to go travel to New York to go get an abortion because I didn't realize. Like, most of the hypocrites do. Because that's what they do. That's what they do. Yeah, the whole idea that corporations are people it should be considered a fallacy, but for some reason they like this farce that corporations are people. There's a whole bunch of farces that we have in this country that should not have been allowed that for some reason are allowed. That's after 9, so let's do a reset. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Support the show by subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. Watch some of the other videos that I post. Make sure to share some videos if you like them, interact with them, make comments on them, up the algorithms. Remember, if Al Gore created the internet, clearly he did because everything that's code-based is based on an algorithm. And so help the algorithms and like videos, comment, share them. Encourage your friends to subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 1,000. The moment I get to 1,000 subscriptions here on the channel, I will be going to 2 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Here on YouTube and on Blog Talk Radio as well. So if you want to see me twice a week, help me get to 1,000. Also, I've started expanding the use of Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. So facebook.com/Liberal Dan Radio. I still have facebook.com/Liberal Dan, but I can use the facebook.com/Liberal Dan Radio like a profile page so I can interact with other pages better. So I'm hoping that will get the page more visibility. And as such, hopefully will drive more traffic to everything else that I do online. I forgot to add that Alito thing to my headlines. I was going to do that. I'm sorry, Susanna, to hear about your dad and the big toe. Yes. Alito sees nothing wrong with a little bit of taking. Oh, the flight was already going to where it was going to go. I just hopped a ride. That's what Alito believes. Just hopped a ride on the plane. It was already going where it was going, so he just gave me a ride. And, whatever else happened on the plane, just, no big deal, no big whoop. And whatever else happens, it's fine. There's nothing to see here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. flying the plane. Ridiculous. Recreational weed prices crashing, paid $100 per ounce of primo weed. So what happens when you legalize stuff? It stops being a crime. It stops being a crime. So there's no risk cost involved, and then B, since it stops being a crime, more people can produce it. Therefore, there's more supply. So therefore, there's less cost. So higher supply, less. It drives the price down. So, and although there's also if there's less illegal, if there's less crimes attached to it, then there might be more demand too. So there's that to consider. But I think the less risk plus the more supply outweighs the more demand typically, which causes the price to come down. When I discovered Tiger Bomb, I wanted to buy it by the bucket. Let's see. Is I'm okay with medical marijuana and safe recreational marijuana being legal federally? Yeah, I mean, it should be. Actually, I think one of the ways to fund reparations would be to, have marijuana be taxed, be legal federally and tax it, have part of the federal tax, fund the federal tax and have it fund reparations, or at least have it fund part of reparations or whatever. And I'm going to do the show. I'm either going to do a show on reparations, or I'm going to do a series that's going to include reparations as part of it, because of the whole idea of the fact that you have compounded interest. When you have wealth, people build wealth. A lot of wealth is built on compound interest. So, like, you have money, it compounds interest, but year over year, interest builds upon itself, and that's the best way to build wealth, is with compound interest. Well, compound discrimination is the best way to build poverty, and that's what's happened in our country, especially with the people who were enslaved. And so you have compound poverty for decades and centuries, and, well, these people are owed what was taken from them. So, anywho, need to do away with styrofoam and replace the hemp. That would be a wonderful idea. Poultry and fish weed, not vegan weed. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, grown without fertilizer. Okay. I was about to say, how do you have vegan weed? Isn't weed automatically vegan? Like, what? Yeah. 2024 with Trump, $100 purchase equals the death penalty. Yeah, I love the fact that frickin' Fox News called Trump out, where Trump was like, yeah, I helped the woman. She got free. I pardoned her. And Brett Baer was like, well, she would get the death penalty if you passed your law, wouldn't she? And he was like, and then Jeff Guerrero was like, he did great. He was wonderful. Let's see. Anyway, so let's do words of redneck wisdom. So here we go. This week's words of redneck wisdom.
And now, words of redneck wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
Destruction of our history is part of a neo-Marxist conspiracy. It's been going on for years and years. Our monuments was just the first. I mean, most of your audience should remember C.S. Lewis. He was a great moralist, a Christian philosopher in Great Britain. Mm-hmm. And he back then said the effort that they're doing, they're trying to debunk traditional values. And the reason they want to debunk traditional values is so they can replace it with a neo-Marxist concept of the world. And so this is not just a loss of a monument here and there. This is a battle to preserve Western Christian civilization. You know, when the Soviet Union invaded Poland during World War II, one of the first things they did was start taking down monuments to national heroes. When they took over the Baltic states, such as Estonia and Lithuania, they banned the flying of the national flag. They banned the use of national currency, and they began propagandizing through public education, quote, public education, the children. And just like today, used to I'd complain about the bad history they're teaching. Now it's the bad morality they're teaching in these neo-Marxist education propaganda centers.
And this concludes Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Hey, TV2. Yeah, so this guy was from like the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, and he was also talking about like the Confederate veterans buried at Arlington and putting like the Confederate flags or something on the memorials or whatever. Yeah, he was seriously calling us a fiat currency, and he was ranting. I'm wondering what monuments that the Soviets took down in Poland in World War II. I'm wondering if they were really Polish monuments or if they were like the Nazi monuments that the Nazis had come over and maybe erected. I don't know. I wonder if he has the same problem with the fact that the Polish took down the Soviet monuments that the Soviets erected when the Soviets were in control of Poland. I wonder if he had a problem with those too. Like, come on now. So, yeah, this is why it's Words of Redneck Wisdom, because they just, they come up with some real doozies on the show. So every time I hear one that's real doozy, I'm like, oh, let's mark that time and let's go download the podcast and see take a little clip of that and put it up on the show, because it's a real doozy. He got some real winners calling in on that one, and that one, there was a few that I had to pick from, but they're just obsessed with the monuments and, or like as I like to call them, the participation trophies, as many people call them, and all the cost patriots who want to just dress up like they were Confederate soldiers themselves. But I take an extreme view on that. I don't think that any Confederate soldier should be at Arlington. I don't think any Confederate soldier should be buried in any United States cemetery. They were traitors to our country. They shouldn't be honored or thought well of. They're traitors. They fired against American soldiers. They fought against the nation that they were once a part of. Why should we revere them? Why should we have any feelings of any good tidings towards them? They're terrible people. They fought to uphold the institution of slavery. Like, screw them. Screw anybody who wants to revere them. They're terrible people. So easy. I doubt Soviet leaders took down Nazi monuments. Probably was the leaders of those countries before the Soviets got their fangs in them. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I was trying to do a quick search to try and find out. It's possible. I don't know. But the Polish people are now taking down. The Polish are now demolishing the Soviet era monuments. And I'm wondering if they would have a problem with that as well. It's history. Well, they probably do have a problem because, I mean, the Republicans for some reason love Putin and love Russia and love everything that has to do with Russia now, because they're all bending over for Putin. They're all making apologies for Putin. They're all loving Vladimir now. They love Vladimir. He's wonderful to them now. They want to make excuses for them. We're at bowling the other day. The kids do like a kids bowl free every week or whatever. Or there's the bowling league on Saturdays or whatever, and we're just sitting there hanging out. And I was doing my Russian accent, and one of the kids that's part of the kids group where all of our kids hang out, and he was asking me like, what is the most favorite drink in Russia? And I was like, favorite drink of Russia is vodka. And he was like, no, the favorite drink of Russia is Pepsi. I was like, That is what propaganda minister wants you to think. But it's really vodka. And he was like, no, it's Pepsi. Like, the only reason it's Pepsi because they take the Pepsi and they put the vodka in it, and that's why it really is vodka. In Soviet Russia, the pinballs you. And he's like, there is no Soviet Russia anymore. I was like, that's what the propaganda minister wants you to think. He was just getting so frustrated because I kept on just going and disagreeing with everything he says and just saying, no, Vladimir Putin does not agree with you. Vodka may very well be cheaper than Pepsi. You could make your own vodka. I do it in bathtub all the time. We have 2 bathtubs, one for bathing, one for vodka. Potato, good drink and camera, and you could make electricity with potato. It's very, very robust vegetable. I make a channel about potato. It's called YouTuber. Get it? Haha. Funny joke. Anyway, sorry. Drink Pepsi potato. That's the new flavor. Like Coke's coming up with all these flavors in Russia. We have Pepsi potato. Only thing better in Russia was McDonald's. The burgers actually had meat on them in there, and a Big Mac cost $1 there. It was worth, but now it all sucks. Nice. Don't mind potato vodka. Prefer grain vodka though. I don't know if I've had grain vodka. I'm not sure. I'm not huge on vodka. Like I'll have a fuzzy navel or hairy navel, or was it screwdriver? But I'd rather a fuzzy navel or a hairy navel with the peach schnapps in it. So, anywho, I prefer to. I don't like. I have a story about tequila, but I'm not telling the story about tequila on this show. If I get this up to 1,000 subscribers and get monetized and do all that stuff, I guess that is that's the kind of like one of the future plans type thing that I've discussed at some point. Where plan A, get Liberal Dan Radio up to 1,000 subscribers, do 2 nights a week, get do 2 nights a week, get monetized here on YouTube. I think plan B would be then dual streaming, to setting it up then to dual stream both to YouTube and to Twitch, so I can be on both Twitch and on YouTube, getting monetized both on Twitch and YouTube, then so I could have Twitch streamers and YouTube streamers and get money both ways. And then step 3 would be then creating the separate YouTube channel for the Liberal Dan Radio After Dark and making that a separate thing. So it's keeping the adult stuff separate and then making the Liberal Dan After Dark channel, which would be covering more adult type topics. Not necessarily like super adult, but more adult, special adult type things maybe. We'll get there at some point. I have faith, so we'll get there. But it's a day 4 or 5 type thing. Never had vodka. Wow, that's a never. I mean, I think I've tried almost every liquor at least once. Anyways, let's talk about Joshua Bernstein for a second, because the coward that is Joshua Bernstein. So we're gonna start recording. We're gonna start recording this again because this might actually get posted as well. So Joshua Bernstein is a person who has his own website. I think he's been banned on YouTube. I think he's been banned on several other social media channels simply because of the fact that a lot of the stuff that he says, a lot of the social media people don't like. You might understand why when you hear the things that he has to say. This is about a 5-minute long clip, and I'm just going to let it play uninterrupted. And we'll play this, and then I will discuss it after the fact. So here we go. Here's my call into Jeff's show with his commentary afterwards, and then we'll discuss.
It's right that Pence and Biden were not supposed to have the documents that are marked classified, top secret, secret or whatever. And when asked for all those documents back, they gave all the documents back. When Trump was asked for all the documents back, he did not give all the documents back. In fact, he gave a part of them back. And then when he was asked, you can sigh all you want, but when asked, and then when it was subpoenaed for the rest of the documents, not only did he not give the rest of the documents back, he misled his own attorney, according to the indictment. I mean, I don't know if y'all read the indictment, but if you read the indictment, it clearly states that he told his own attorney that he was going to come down and he was going to go and he was going to search through some boxes and go through the rest of them and fill out and put them all in a folder and then sealed it with clear tape to be able to turn it back in or whatever. But he worked with his aide to put other boxes somewhere else. And then when he filled out this affidavit or whatever, said, yeah, these are all the documents, and had another attorney sign it, said, yeah, these are all the documents to submit back to the grand jury for the subpoena. So he lied to the grand jury saying, yeah, these are all the documents, but there were still more documents to be left. So if he didn't have, so he could have easily avoided prosecution here simply by returning all of the documents. And look, you can laugh all you want, Josh.
Okay, first of all, Liberal Dan, here's how dumb you are, okay? First and foremost, what Biden did was indeed a violation of the Classifications Act, okay? Why? Well, because he didn't have executive privilege, because he was the, quote, vice president. The president of the United States could take a piece of toilet paper, wipe his behind with it, leave the White House with it, and guess what? The second he's outside that White House, it is declassified. That is what the executive privilege is. He can take any document, and any president, by the way, from Obama to the Bushes to the Clintons and their socks and the socks drawer and everything else, anything is removed from the White House is automatically declassified based on the act alone. Okay, genius? That's how it works.
I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to call you an idiot, but I'm going to call you uninformed.
Okay,
Josh, you are uninformed. The presidential record.
Right, I'm uninformed.
Presidential record. Yes, you are, because classified documents are a completely separate animal.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're automatically declassified.
There's nothing in the law that automatically declassifies. No,
that's
you're manufacturing that out of the
hang on, guys. Hang on, one at a time. Let me ask you this, Liberal Dan, and then I'm gonna get Josh's response, and then we got to move on to another caller. Josh mentioned, and others have mentioned, the sock case, the fact that you had all these recordings that President Clinton had, and some of it was very classified materials that he did not turn over. I mean, these were subpoenaed tapes, so they went to court, and the judge determined, well, it's his. He doesn't have to turn them over. So why would Bill Clinton not have to turn over these tapes that were in his sock drawer? And then Donald Trump has to turn over all these documents that are requested. Why is there that double standard, Liberal Dan?
Were those tapes marked as classified secret or top secret by any of the agencies that were able to that do mark those documents as secret, top secret, or classified? No, they were not. As such, they were not covered by the Espionage Act. A. B, so I mean, and look, he can laugh all he wants. He could make.
I'm not laughing. I'm telling you that Bill Clinton, as president of the United States, could do the exact same thing that Trump did.
You can cut me. I mean, look, you can cut me off all you want, but you're just uninformed, and you're misleading the audience. You're misleading the audience, and I'll call back.
Liberal Dan, thank you for your call. All right, thank you for your call. And you can call back tomorrow if you want to talk about this in more detail. But I think you made your point. I think we got your point across. And I think, we both disagree with you. So, Josh, your response on this, and then we're going to squeeze in one more.
It's really simple. If Bill Clinton decided to take Monica Lewinsky's dress out of the White House, stain or not, guess what? It's declassified just by the act of the fact that he's president of the United States. Okay? That's how this works. It's executive privilege. That's why the presidents have the ability to do that. So the mere act of taking anything, whether it's a napkin, whether it's a document in Iran, whether it's a letter from another president, it doesn't matter. It's automatically declassified the second it leaves the White House.
And the other.
All right, so there you go. That was my call into the Jeff Carrera Show with Joshua Bernstein, talking about the Trump indictment and their ridiculousness of it. First of all, if you heard me say it, I wasn't going to call him an idiot, but I did call him uninformed, which is a two separate thing. The moment you start off with an insult, in my opinion, you lose. And Joshua Bernstein is very, very uninformed, and you saw many examples there as to why he is uninformed. I don't understand his whole argument with toilet paper with crap on it. Toilet paper with that you wipe yourself with is not a classified document, so it would not have to be declassified. It would not be anything. I mean, yeah, sure, he might be able to declare executive privilege on such a piece of toilet paper. I don't know why he would have to. I don't know why Donald Trump would walk out of the White House with a piece of toilet paper with his own poop on it. I mean, I'm not one to kink shame. That's his own personal deal if that's what he wants to do. I mean, typically most people would just flush it down the toilet. Apparently Donald Trump tried to flush other things down the toilet too, and that wasn't necessarily legal, but it would be perfectly legal for him to flush a piece of toilet paper down the toilet, and that's his prerogative. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. The idea that Donald Trump could simply walk out of the White House with a classified document and have it be declassified automatically is wrong, especially in this case, for three reasons. First reason, he said it himself that the document was not declassified. He said it himself that the document was classified. According to the indictment, which clearly both of them, in my opinion, they have not read, he spoke to four people, none of whom had clearance, none of whom had a need to know about what was on those documents. He said that that document was not declassified, and he could not declassify it at that point because he was at that point not president, and he still showed it to him anyway. So that was him admitting that the document that he was showing them was not yet declassified. So it was still classified. So he admitted on an audio recording that he was showing them a classified document. B, the judge in this case, who was appointed by Donald Trump, is requiring that Trump's attorneys get clearance to view the 31 classified documents in this case. Why would they need to get clearance to view the classified documents if Trump, by simply walking out of the White House, would automatically declassify these documents? That doesn't make any sense if they're automatically declassified simply by him walking out of the White House with them. Third, and most importantly, and something that I got Jeff to admit today on the show, is that these classified documents, secret, top secret, whatever, they can come in many forms, and they usually have, or often can have, multiple copies. Some of them can even be sent via email, as they love to point out with Hillary Clinton. If Donald Trump had one of these copies and walked out the White House with them, and that automatically made the classified document declassified, then you end up in a state of Schrodinger's declassification, where the document is declassified for him, but still classified for other people. It doesn't make any sense. So what would make clear sense would be, especially for the president who signed an amendment to the law on the Espionage Act that made harsher penalties for people for mishandling classified information, that you would especially think that he would make sure that he dotted every I and crossed every T and made sure that any document that was previously classified when he was president was known to everybody who had those documents, that, hey, these are no longer classified. So you would think that he would make a paper trail and say, hey, document A, B, C, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, all of these documents that I'm now taking with me are now declassified. So everybody who has a copy of these things, now you know they are declassified for y'all as well. He didn't do that, so they're not declassified. And look, Joshua Bernstein and Jeff Carrera, can disagree with me all they want. They're still wrong. Now, the point with Bill Clinton and the dress, I mean, yeah, he's making cheap points with it and the stain, but the dress isn't a classified document. It's a dress. The executive privilege is not relevant here. This isn't about a letter from a foreign leader. This isn't about a letter that he wrote somebody. This isn't about anything else that he did, a napkin that he wiped his mouth on, a fork that he received or that he stole from him. This is about classified documents, documents that have been marked as classified by all of the agencies or any of the agencies that have the authority to do so. This is not about executive privilege. This is about things that are marked as classified. Furthermore, because I didn't have much time to talk with Jeff and Joshua Bernstein on this issue, I emailed Mr. Bernstein about this. And I said, look, we obviously have a disagreement here. I invite you to come on my show. I'll give you a full 3 hours. You can come on my show, and I will gladly give you enough time where you can come on the show. You can discuss this issue with me. You can explain to me in full detail why you believe a president simply walking out the door with a document makes a classified document no longer classified. And he refused. So not only is he not informed, he is a coward. He refused to do so. So there you have it. I gave him more time than he gave me by allowing him to make his point on my show. He's not willing to do it now. He did say that I could pay him to come on his airtime and go on his show and pay him money to debate on his show, but I have no belief that he would be at any reason fair, that he wouldn't cut me off and he would give me a fair amount of time. Whereas all of my listeners can verify that I give conservatives that come on my show a very fair amount of time. In fact, I would probably say that my listeners would say I give conservatives too much time on my show to talk. Many times, a lot of my listeners will say, hang up on them already. So I'm probably overly fair to the conservative callers that call into my show. But there you have it. Joshua Bernstein, I extended an invitation for you to come on my show. You, like a coward, said no. So there you go. You are wrong, Joshua Bernstein. You're uninformed. You won't come on my show. And there you have it. Now the truth is out there, and that's the end of the story. And there you have it. Silly Wonka. This is about dumb people not knowing they are dumb because they are that dumb. Yeah, that is true. They are dumb. And we've talked about that before, too, because Donald Trump is so dumb. For example, he didn't know to not play dumb. Like when he was during the deposition, not the subpoena, during the deposition, Donald Trump was so dumb, he didn't know to not play dumb. Like when he was asked, who is this woman? He could have just said, I don't know, I don't recognize her. Instead of saying, oh, that's Marla. Instead of saying, he could have just said, I don't know who that is. And that would have been like, okay, well, this is the person who you groped. Oh no, that's Marla. Which makes him look even worse. Looked even worse because he said, I don't know her, I'm not attracted to her. Well, he might not be attracted to her now, but by saying that this woman looked like the person who he married and cheated on his first wife with, clearly he was attracted to her because he was attracted to Marla. And again, he could have just, instead of doubling down on the rich people do it, have been grabbing women by the hoo-ha for millennia, he could have just said, oh, that was just locker room talk. I wasn't serious about that. That was just me and a guy having fun. Male talk, male banter, just talking crap about stuff. You know. And he didn't do it. because he's too stupid to not know how to play stupid. Anyway. It's easy network. Jedi mind trick. Declassify documents telepathically. Exactly. Easy network. Most presidents lose their TSN clearance after they leave office. Right? I don't necessarily think so. I don't know if they necessarily need to know, but I don't. And look, as I said in the call, they didn't necessarily have the right to keep the documents. And Biden didn't have the right to keep the documents. Pence didn't have the right to keep the documents, and Trump didn't have the right to keep the documents. But the thing is that if Biden, if they were to criminally penalize people for returning classified documents when asked, then people would have a reason to not want to return them, and they might fight it from the get-go. So if you say, hey, return these, and then you go, okay, fine, here they are, then, okay, fine. We'll assume good faith. You're giving them back. Good. And so that if Donald Trump would have just done what Biden did and done what Pence did, guess what? It would have been fine. And I would have been fair. and I told Jeff this. I've told other people this too. If Donald Trump would have returned every single document that he had taken, and if they would have continued to go after him and not have continued to go after Pence and not have continued to go after Biden, then I would have said, look, that they're not treating them equally. And I would have made somebody a hypocrite of the week. I would have said, look, if you're going to do the same thing if you're going to do this to Trump, then you need to do this to Pence, and then you'll need to do this to Biden after he leaves office, and you'll have to treat all of these people the same way. But it's not the same. The moment that Trump chose to not return every document, it became a completely different animal. Then the moment that Trump decided to obstruct justice, when he signed that document saying yes, or when he had his lawyers sign a document saying that this is everything when it wasn't everything, that became an extremely different animal. That's when it got extremely worse for him. That's when it became super duper worse for him. And that's why Barr said he's toast. That's why Barr's. I don't even think he needs. If I were the judge, this is what I would do if I were the. And I don't know if it was possible to do this. I don't know if it's possible to do this. But if I were the judge, this is what I would do. If you have to wait on the parts of the trial that have to do with classified documents, and if there's some delay in his attorneys getting clearance to deal with all of the charges having to do specifically with those documents in and of themselves, right? I would split out that to a separate trial. Okay, these are going to go under a separate trial. We're going to delay these charges, right? But on the charge of him filing that false report that he gave everything back but didn't, let that go in August. Because I don't think you need access to the documents in and of themselves. You just need the fact that he filed a false report. You just need the fact that he didn't give everything back. You don't need to see what was given back. You just need the fact that they were not given back. And at that point, you should be able to reach a verdict on that particular charge in and of themselves. And get a verdict on that one done. Let the other ones follow. Let the other ones fall where they may. And hey, you get a verdict on the one. Maybe he does a plea on the other ones. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if he's too. I don't know if he's too high on himself to accept a plea. Or maybe he will accept a plea. Maybe he would accept a plea. Maybe he would at that point accept a plea to get it over with, and then so he could get onto the whole thing of running for office, even if he's running for office from prison, so then he could try and become a president and then pardon himself in prison. Who knows? But there's got to be charges in there that you don't need, that you can have a trial on where you don't need the clearance on. Get those charges out of the way. Deal with the clearance when the clearance comes up, and then deal with those other charges later. So, anywho, aren't they all classified? They're just levels of classification. I mean, like the presidential records are not necessarily all classified. Specifically, like there's classified, secret, and top secret, and then there's also like eyes only, and there's other things like there's things that cannot be viewed by people who are. You can only be viewed by people who are Americans, and you can't be viewed by foreign officials or whatever. There's all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of acronyms, but these are specifically talking about documents that are labeled classified secret or top secret from agencies that can do so, like the CIA, FBI, NSA, Department of Energy, any of the federal agencies that have the ability to label things as such. Joy to Farm, Presidential Records Act was written to keep presidents and VPs from taking documents or leaving office. Exactly. That's the other thing. Like there are presidential. That's the thing that a lot of these conservatives are getting confused on. There's the group of the people that that are responsible for keeping track of presidential records, or just governmental records overall. There's presidential records, and then there's personal records, and then there's a determination of whether something is a personal record or a presidential record, and that's something that I think presidents are given a little bit of a broad ability to determine this is something that's mine personally versus this is something that was part of my job as president. So like if I take a picture of if I take a selfie, if I'm president and I take a selfie of me and my wife in the Oval Office, I could basically say this is a personal picture of myself and my wife. This is not a presidential record, and then people could argue whether or not that's a presidential record or not. I think I could be free to say, hey, this is definitely my personal record, not a presidential record, and I think they would side with me on that being a personal record. So the agency in charge of keeping track of the presidential records can request that the presidential records come back. I think they're also responsible for making sure that the classified records come back. And that's, I think, where a lot of people are getting confused in that there are presidential records and there are presidential records and there are classified records that the same agency can request. So let's see. Clinton could not claim the dress as his anyhow. Well, he could claim part of it as his. Part of what was on the dress, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Would that be considered a gift? Would the omission be considered part of the gift, or the stain? Would that be a gift? Jeff Curry, thank you all. I live in such a red area. You'll keep me sane. We appreciate it. Appreciate you coming in there. It just scrolled on me. So let me scroll back. Let you finish the sentence. I often get cut off when I talk to Jeff because especially like the one time where I called into Jeff and I made him go hypersonic because of what when I called in about his doubling down on grabbing by the hoo-ha. Oh, he went hypersonic. It was crazy. Yes, Joshua is a coward. Absolutely. Biden had the most successful midterm election of any president since JFK. Yes, he did. It is unbelievable that Adam Schiff is censored in the House while MTG holds the gavel while McCarthy. Yep. McCarthy can't. They're lying for money. They're media whores about to sell the high theater. Yep. Not my type. That's Marla when it was E. Jean Carroll classic. Yep. Biden and Pence could still get minor charges though, but no jail time. Yeah, but the thing is, ECE is that they could get minor charges. Problem is that if they do get minor charges, that makes it less likely that people will be willing to give it. And that's one of the arguments that was made, I think, by several experts in the field, and I agree with it. Yes, the House voted to censor Schiff. Doc said his boxes were not cleaned up in the first place. He wasn't planning on leaving, says he left in a hurry. Easy, I think for the sake of consistency, they should get fined a minimum and probation. Problem is, at least with Biden, you can't, according to the Justice Department policy, you can't do anything to a president while they're sitting president. But again, if you punish people for following through on the request, then you're gonna again make it less likely that people are gonna follow through on requests. So unless you can show that they did something else, that there was harm done. Like if there's no harm done specifically, then maybe. Like I guess Skip to me he said no harm, no foul. But like if to me, like there was an additional issue with Trump, whereas he then obstructed justice after the fact. Whereas in the case of with Biden and Pence, they returned it without an argument. They cooperated, and so a lot of times they want to reward cooperation. So yeah, Elizabeth, we talked about that in my headlines, that Marge, MTG and Lauren and Bobo the Clown had an argument on the floor of the House. Yeah, and Marge called MTG called Bobo little bitch. Trump admitted he had the documents because he was in a hurry to steal them. See, Picks aren't lying on the document he had in his own words. He isn't getting out of this. He kept them. Georgia election, Trump's getting prosecuted for that too. Yep. I'm not ready to admit MTG is a woman. Not a girl, not yet a woman, like Brittany. If I were the judge, I would have issued the gag order to protect Trump because even the defendants deserve a judge protecting them in that regard. I mean, I think the judge did issue some sort of thing, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that you can do, and Trump is gonna try and hang himself. Gag orders protect both the defendant and the accuser. In this case, the prosecution. Let's see, Elizabeth, isn't the Washington Post owned by Murdoch? Andrew, he's going to accept the plea. He isn't going to accept the plea. He wants a trial. Yeah, he wants. I mean, if he got convicted on the one, maybe he would accept a plea on the other one. If he got convicted on the one, but I think that's that would be. I don't know if that's wishful thinking, but I think I'm shocked he actually took the trial. I'm shocked he actually showed up. I was 50-50 on the whole thing. I thought he might have fled, but there's part of me that says, oh, well, maybe he just thinks he can last everything, or he can make it last the trial. He can either survive anything because he's untouchable, or he can make the trial last long enough that if he wins re-election, that he'll be able to just pardon himself, and or if the trial lasts long enough that he can become president, fire everybody, and then just tell the Justice Department to stand down and drop the charges. The judge also has to explain to the jury that obstruction would be refusing to turn over the documents. You have no right to keep them over immediately. Exactly. Andrea, he can't pardon himself because he was impeached twice. I don't think that's correct, Andrea. Now, whether or not, I don't think his being impeached twice has anything to do with it. He would have had to have been convicted, and even then, you can't pardon over what you were impeached over. You can't pardon if you're convicted, but he wasn't convicted, so I don't think that's the case. Trump has the right to remain silent, just not the ability. Exactly. Even being declassified is a classification. Right. Five Eyes only is the stuff that gets people killed and makes our allies not trust us. Five Eyes is for five allies to see, isn't it? Yes. He won't take a plea because he wants. Bezos owns the Post, not Murdoch. Rubio, Hawley, Graham, and Cruz are all attorneys, right? Supposedly, but the problem with that is that half of all attorneys are wrong. That's my line, and I'm sticking to it. half of all attorneys are wrong. Go to trial, one side wins, one side loses, typically, right? So one side was right, one side was wrong. You get a guilty or a non-guilty. So either the prosecution was right or the prosecution was wrong. The prosecution was able to get a guilty verdict or not a guilty verdict. In a civil trial, you either proved your burden beyond a reasonable doubt, or proved your burden with preponderance of the evidence, or you were not able to prove without a preponderance of the evidence. See, any holidays you seen? Blah, 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 blah. No whammies, big bucks. Trump called rape hanky panky. Of course he did. Cynthia, I feel for those 5 new Titanic ghosts, even if they did this to themselves. I don't necessarily feel for the billionaires. Like, here's the thing. Like, a lot of people are like, there's a lot of people who are mocking the people who took the tin can down to the Titanic. A lot of people who are, who feel sorry for them. A lot of people who don't. I don't feel sorry if necessarily. I have a hard time feeling bad for the billionaires, simply because of the fact that if you're a billionaire, how many people had to die for you to get your billions? The people who become billionaires at the expense of how many other people? How many people died to get those billions? It's just those people that died aren't visible, so we don't see it. So it's out of sight, out of mind. That's why we don't think about those people that died for those two to become billionaires. So that's why people don't think about that. But there's no ethical billionaires out there. Let's just remember that. Cynthia, my daughter, summed it up. Rich people doing shit, pretty much. Trump might flee if he's found guilty. If he's found guilty, I don't know how he flees at that point. Because at that point, if he's found guilty, you'd think he would be remanded into custody, because at that point he might be deemed a flight risk. I don't know. I think Jared Kushner wears a condom on his face. He looks like a wax figure, maybe a rubber. Jared isn't. My chat was frozen and I missed all the text, but I got to run. See you, Demonox. All attorneys are in hell for a reason. Trump is playing this wrong. He doesn't need the presidency. He needs a pardon. He campaigns for DeSantis in exchange. That's the thing. I think Trump thinks that he can pardon himself. And there's a question as to whether or not he can pardon himself. And if he pardons himself, there might be a lawsuit that's filed that somebody might sue. And that'll probably go up to the Supreme Court. And it'll be a novel case that will go to the Supreme Court. And I would predict at that point that it would go to the Supreme Court and they would get a 6-3 ruling. Or maybe 5-4. But since there's no judicial precedent, I think Roberts would side with him, because there's no stare decisis to side with. So I think Chief Justice Roberts would side at that point with Donald Trump. Usually, if Chief Justice Roberts could side with him. Caller, area code 205, if you can, go to the YouTube chat and just say what's your name and where you're from, just so I could know who you are. Kimchi, what was my point? I've made so many points, I'm not exactly sure what the great point was, because I've been scrolling to try to catch up with the text. Let's see. Cute meme, highway to hell, stairway to heaven, says lots of unexpected. Was it the billionaire point about the people, how many people died for those billionaires to become billionaires? Let's see, Elizabeth. Trump has so much blood on his hands. Trump could pull a Polanski. Elizabeth. Or Jeff who's going? Jeff or Elizabeth? I think Jeff is going. Or is John Boy going? Good night, John Boy. The caller hung up. I had a feeling that might have been a bad one. I don't know. We'll see. The people died from. That's what I assumed. Trump and Steven Seagal could do a TV show from Moscow, the odd couple or something. Yes, we love Donald Trump in Moscow. We make another P-tape for him. If he come here, it be P-tape 2.0. P-tape 2, Electric Boogaloo. This time, double the P. Even more P for Donald Trump this time. Golden showers. Oh, jeez. Uh, so here's one of my problems is that sometimes I'll get this idea in my head for a parody, and I can't let it go. And I just thought of the golden showers thing, and thought of the Beatles song "Golden Slumbers," and that's I'm sure somebody else has done it. Let's see. Golden Showers Beatles parody. Let's Google that and see. Golden Showers, a Beatles parody song. There you go. It's a Jair Bolsonaro parody song. But it's a parody to the Brazilian president. It's not about so there's several there's several people who have already done it already. So somebody posted it to the Daily Kos. Perhaps this is beneath me. I find I no longer care. The Golden Slumbers carry that weight. The end. Once there was a way to get your jollies. Once there was a way. Let's see. Oh, pay some Russian girls to be on you. Tweet. I started too high. Tweet, pretty Donald, do not cry. And I will wink at Putin's spy. Golden showers fill your eyes. Smile, the camera never lies. Tweet, pretty Donald, do not cry. And on Ukraine, give us a bye. Once there was a way to fix elections. Now we only pay for WikiLeaks, sleeper agents in the FBI. And now the president is our guy. Boy, you're gonna carry that rep a long time. Boy, you better launder that wig. She said me love you long time. I never used Barack's pillow. I only slept there by invitation. And in the middle of my masturbation, I break down. Dun, 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 boy. You're gonna carry that rep a long time. Boy, you better. It's not that great, but it's okay. They could have done better with it. I probably could have done better with it, but somebody else did it, so okay. Carry that hate. Yeah, carry that hate would have been better. Let's see what else. Does anybody else do it? I don't. Let's see. Golden showers. Let's see if I put Trump Beatles parody. Let's see if that comes up with anything else. I'll turn off the. Trying to see. I don't think that's a parody of it. I don't think that's a parody of Golden Slumbers, but oh well. Awkward silence, LOL. Sorry. I'm just trying to see if they have. Anyway. Now the Beatles are angry with Donald Trump for using Here Comes the Sun. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun. It's alright. Yeah, I definitely could have done a better job, though, with the whole Golden Showers thing. 7,800 votes for what? Wait, Dawn, your cat just ran away? $11,780 votes? What? What are we talking about? Oh, the votes for Georgia. All right, thank you, Elizabeth, for joining the. We're just kind of BSing, I think, at this point. Anyway, so I don't know if there's anything else to talk about tonight. I think I'm just kind of blankly trying to think of anything else to do. I'll probably just sign off in a few minutes unless anybody else has anything to chat about. I mean, there's the Georgia thing. One thing I thought that interesting was about Georgia. The censure is just a partisan BS crap. And it's ridiculous because Schiff was censured, but they won't censure Santos. It's just full of crap. More crap from them. And, that they won't censor Santos is just so that the Republicans are useless. And because Santos is the one that needs to be censored and yeeted from Congress, but they won't do it because Kevin McCarthy has no spine. Nothing really happens with the censure. It's just, you're a bad boy, Schiff. You're a bad boy, and we don't like you. That's pretty much it, as far as I'm aware of. Trump stole Fortunate Son and YMCA. I'm sure it'll be retaliation when we take the House, potentially. Let's see. And the ironic thing is, Trump stealing Fortunate Son, it seems to me very similar to the whole thing of conservatives jamming around to Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine. They're all jamming around F you, I won't do what you tell me, and then realizing what the hell the song's about is wait a second, what have I been jamming about for all these years? I've been saying F you, I won't do what you tell me, but wait, they're really talking about cops and how cops are racist? I never realized that. Well, what have you been listening to all this time? They're they read a tweet by Tom Morello, and they're wait a second, Tom Morello is woke? Whoever knew that Tom Morello was woke? Everybody who listened to his music, you dumbass. Come on. And I like Tom Morello. I love the one smackdown that Tom Morello gave somebody. Was somebody was I don't think singers should be giving their political opinions, and he was okay, fine. I won't give you my political opinion as a singer. I'll give you my opinion as somebody who has a master's degree of political science from Harvard or something. You're a dumbass or something like that, which was hilarious. We usually take the high road, Dan, and censure can be a big deal. Schiff is very effective. Morello walks the line like nobody. Morello's great. I mean, like, he's amazing. Like, I think he's awesome and very talented and very, very intelligent. Yeah, we do usually take the high road, but I mean, sometimes you gotta smack them around a bit, and that's part of the problem sometimes I have with the Democrats is sometimes we take the high road too much. Sometimes we're too nice. Sometimes, I mean, even me, sometimes even I'm too nice. And sometimes even y'all say that I'm too nice. You know, in the chat, you know, when I have Gibson Media on, when I have other conservatives on, I will give, and sometimes I do it because I like to give them enough rope to hang themselves. Like sometimes y'all think that I'm doing something and I'm giving them like too much time, but sometimes it's because I'm wanting them to, you know, say something that I can pounce on and immediately catch them in some hypocrisy or something like that. And then when I do so, it's like, there we go, I got you. And I like giving them that rope. But sometimes that comes at the expense of allowing them to have a lot of time to talk. Whereas that's one of the reasons I think that like Jeff and Josh and all those other, you know, conservative media types, they don't like to let folks like me talk because they know that if they let me talk too much, that I'm going to start making sense. And then I might start swaying their listeners. Like, that I'm going to start, like, that I might be like, well, wait a second, maybe what Dan's saying is right. So, Biden is mean. He never buys Cuban food for his supporters. YMCA being sung by an LGBTQ plus friendly group makes it ironic that Trump loves that song. Yeah, great. That's awesome. I love when like Hal gives his. That's one thing I wanted to talk about before I got off the show. But Hal was like Donald Trump's up on stage and he's like Trump is doing this thing or whatever and like Hal is doing his like his stroke and Trump's doing his pump thing and he looks like he's like, you know, jerking off two people like while he's walking down the stage. It's hysterical. One thing Hal was talking about like towards the end of his show today that I caught the end of the show as I was preparing for mine. Hal was looking at a video of Dinesh D'Souza. Let me pull up my link to this because this is I talked about it in the chat, but let me just do a search on my own blog for it because it's a good post, I think. It's one of my, excuse me, it helps if I spell the word right. So he was talking about he had like Dinesh D'Souza and I guess his wife on the video, and he was criticizing the video, and they started talking about how the Democrats want to replace the Electoral College with by basically awarding, or they want certain states are basically saying, you know, we're going to do the Electoral College Compact. So they want to have 270 states worth of 270 electoral votes worth of states to sign on to this Electoral College Compact to say that they're going to award their Electoral College votes not based on how their state votes, but how the popular vote of the nation votes. And as such, if you have 270 states worth of votes doing that, then you basically eliminate the Electoral College and you're basically electing the president based off the popular vote, even though you're still technically using the Electoral College. So basically it's called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. There's somebody who wrote a article about that, and this one guy, Trent England, was basically that small town and rural America were reduced to serfdom by the big bad mean city folk, and he felt that rural America would be reduced to serfdom, and there would be no reason for. And they always make the flyover state argument. They say that you have these states in the small red states in middle America would be flown over. That nobody would visit these states anymore because there would be no reason to. You'd only campaign in the big cities, right? That's what they say. That's the argument that they make. Well, it's BS, because what I showed in this map was a map of Donald Trump's campaign stops in 2016. And Donald Trump's campaign stops in 2016. Actually, no, this is 2016. He never went to I think he maybe hit the border of Nebraska and Iowa. He didn't go to North Dakota, didn't go to South Dakota, didn't go to Wyoming, didn't go to Idaho, didn't go to Montana, didn't go to Utah, didn't go to Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma. He skipped all those flyover states. He only went to the big city. He didn't go to Louisiana. He went to. He didn't go to Kentucky or Tennessee. He went over. He skipped all the flyover states. Why? Because in the way the Electoral College works, all of those states are already going to go to Trump. Donald Trump has no reason to campaign there. The only reason that Donald Trump might have to go to maybe to a Nebraska, is it Nebraska? Some states might have one congressional seat that, or I think maybe it's Nebraska that awards the one seat to maybe to individuals, like two states that award the congressional seats individually electorally. Other states just give them all to one, winner take all. But every other state awards them all, and we already know that. Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, they're all going to the Republican. Doesn't matter who it is. They're all going to the Republican. There's no reason for a Republican to visit there. There's no reason for a Democrat to visit there. So they're already flyover states. There are states that are blue states. There's no reason for them to go there. There's no reason for Democrats to go to the red states. There's only 5 or 10 states at any given time that are ever in play. And then that might switch at any given election. It used to be like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio used to be the 3 states. Back in 2016, the 3 states were the 3 big states were Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Now the states have kind of become Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, New Mexico, and some additional ones. But now we have maybe 6 that might be in play. But the thing is that 5 to 10, or at the most, are in play. No more. So this whole flyover state bunk is bunk. It's not a good argument. It's just an argument to keep the status quo. And why do they want to keep the status quo? It's because the way that the system is set up, it's set up in a way that helps the Republicans. It gives the Republicans an unfair advantage. Because it gives Wyoming an unfair say in the Electoral College, and it even gives them an unfair say. You can even point at how the Electoral College was created back in the foundation of the 1790s, and you can look at the proportion of Electoral College votes from the smallest state, Rhode Island, to the largest population state, Virginia. And I think it was only 11 times population. I think Rhode Island had a certain number of people, and Virginia had a certain number of people, and the population difference was 11 times. Technically, if you consider the 3/5 compromise, that's if you look at the number of Congress people versus the number of Congress people from one to the other, it was 11 times. If you look at the actual hard number of people, there was more people than that in Virginia, but if you take into consideration the 3/5 compromise, that's where you get the 11 times the population, because black people were only considered 3/5 of a person. But the most populous state of the Union, of the 13 colonies, was only 11 times more that than of Rhode Island. Now each Rhode Island had two senators, and still Virginia had 2 senators, but it was only a difference of 11. Whereas the population difference between Wyoming and California is much, much different. It was like 70 times the difference. It's like 55 million people in California. Is that correct? Population. Oh, 40 million. 40 million people in California, 39 point whatever, as compared to 500,000 in Wyoming, I think. Population of Wyoming, 600,000. So 40 million divided by 600,000 is 66 times, 66.7. So California has 66.67 times more people than, so the discrepancy in population between California and Wyoming is 6 times greater than the discrepancy of Virginia over Rhode Island in the colonies. So I don't know if the founding fathers considered that a large state would be that much more larger than the smallest population state when they considered when they considered the Electoral College. I don't know if they considered that would be a possibility. I mean, there's no way to talk to a founding father and say, hey, what if you could imagine that the biggest state of the Union would have 40 million people, and the smallest state in the Union would have 600,000 people. Would you still want the Senate to have 2 from each state, or would you perhaps suggest something different? Or would you suggest that maybe we not allow states of that small population or something? We would need some sort of DeLorean, maybe go back in time, like right before, Thomas Jefferson died. Like go back right on his deathbed, right as he dies, have some ability to bring him back to life, bring him into the future, resuscitate him, say, hey, Thomas Jefferson, you died, you're now in the future. We would like to talk to you about some things. Let's chat. Let's poke your brain and let's see what's going on, what's going on with our country and how we're doing things, and if we are interpreting your words properly. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I would tend to think that perhaps the founding fathers, who were not necessarily these paragons of virtue that the conservatives would have, because they still considered black people to be 3/5 of a person, while not giving them votes. They might have thought, wow, that's a very large difference. That's not a good idea. We did not intend for that to happen. Or maybe they would say, well, what about the House of Representatives? How many representatives do they have? Oh, they only have 1 with 600,000 people? That's a little ridiculous. You should have increased the amount of representatives. Maybe Wyoming should have 10, and then California should have a lot more than that. And so therefore you have much broader representation, and as such the difference in the Electoral College is different. Like, instead of having 1 person from Wyoming, have 10 people from Wyoming, so 1 for every 60,000 people, and then you have a whole bunch more from California representing them, and then the 2 senators from Wyoming don't have that much of an impact on the Electoral College as they do now. That might be a better thing to do. Plus, the way we apportion is not what to do anyway, because if we were to apportion the way that we should apportion, we would have at least 100 more seats. Because if we took Wyoming, which is the least populous state, and then divided each state by the number of Wyomings, rounding to the closest Wyoming, we would have 100 more seats in the House. But for some reason, we've decided to stubbornly stick at 435 instead of 530, instead of expanding it to be able to have the amount of people that we should have in the House. So
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. And if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, sorry, I just played the It Is What It Is sound on my soundboard, which I don't think you can hear. Anywho. Let's see. Band name Hang Your Hate. They figured if your hate was a bitch much. Probably. Lead singer from Greta Van Fleet announced that he's been in the same sex relationship for the past 8 years, and his fans said so. That's awesome. Next generation will be in charge if we survive, hopefully. P-Dubs, I was sitting with him when he told me about the road grip. OMG, give me the chills. Jump from the rooftop. You lost it on the grip of faith. I listened to it about a minute. I'm definitely going to listen more. Sounds very good. I think I was going to follow that, and I forgot. Let's just go over there real quick. Anyway, so I've subscribed to Hang Your Hate, so there you go. Anywho, so anyway, I think that's going to be the end of this week's shows. Let's go ahead and let's find the end. So this is the end of this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. I will be back on the air next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, unless for some reason I manage to magically get 400 subscribers, in which case I'll be on the air Monday. But I will be on Twitch tomorrow. We can talk politics tomorrow if you want, whilst I'm gaming, twitch.tv/nerdydan.com. And I should be posting some of the clips that I created during the show briefly. They'll probably be online tomorrow morning because I like having them be live in the morning instead of late at night. I think that helps with the stuff. Till next week, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the Left. That's right.